Former special counsel Jack Smith is reportedly ready to go on a counterattack as the Trump administration continues to target Smith and the FBI agents who worked on his team. The New York Times is reporting that Smith has, quote, told people in his orbit that he welcomes the opportunity to present the public case against Mr. Trump, denied to him by the Supreme Court decision asserting broad presidential immunity from prosecution and adverse rulings from a Trump-appointed judge on the federal bench in Florida.
Special counsel Jack Smith is telling Republicans, game on. In a letter just released from his attorneys to Congressman Jim Jordan and Senator Chuck Grassley, the chairs of the House and Senate Judiciary Committee, Jack Smith is offering to testify, but he wants to do so in a public hearing about the investigations he conducted. Jack Smith's attorneys writing this, quote, given the many mischaracterizations of Mr. Smith's investigation into President Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents and his role in attempting to overturn the results of the 2020 election, Mr. Smith respectfully requests the opportunity to testify in open hearings before the House and Senate Judiciary Committees.
Okay, so picture this. You're Donald Trump. You've been trying to shut down Jack Smith's investigation for months. You've been using every legal maneuver possible, claiming presidential immunity, filing motions to dismiss, attacking Smith personally, threatening to prosecute him, doing everything you can to make this investigation go away, and then boom, Jack Smith drops a bomb. Not just any bomb, a nuclear bomb. He releases explosive evidence linking your campaign directly to Department of Justice corruption, evidence of secret back-channel deals, evidence of political interference in investigations, evidence of conversations implicating your top officials in criminal wrongdoing, communications between you and 160 Republican officials during your election subversion scheme, all of it documented, all of it proven. And Jack Smith announces he's ready to testify before Congress. He's ready to publicly lay out all the evidence, everything he's found, everything that's been blocked by courts and legal maneuvering. He's going to tell Congress and the American people exactly what you did, how you tried to overturn an election, how you corrupted the Justice Department, how you engaged in what Smith calls an unprecedented criminal effort to hold on to power. And you're panicking. Your inner circle is panicking because Smith just called your bluff. You thought you could intimidate him, threaten him, make him back down, but he didn't. He went on the offensive, and now all your crimes are about to be exposed. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest, you can't really trust headlines anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us, be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
The paper continues that in two recent interviews, Smith has made it unmistakably clear that he will not only defend himself, but take a hammer to Mr. Trump's exaggerated or false claims about his work as special counsel.
This is wild. This is absolutely explosive. Because Jack Smith just went nuclear. He's not playing defense anymore. He's not just responding to Trump's attacks. He's counterattacking. He's releasing evidence. He's preparing to testify. He's making it clear that no amount of intimidation or legal maneuvering is going to stop this investigation. And the evidence he's releasing is devastating. We're talking about proof that Trump's campaign coordinated with DOJ insiders to manipulate investigations, to sidestep oversight, to obstruct probes into election interference. That's corruption at the highest levels. That's Trump using the Justice Department as his personal protection agency. That's criminal conduct by the president and his top officials. So let's talk about it. Let's break down what evidence Smith released, what crimes it proves, why Smith is going on the offensive now, and what this means for Trump's administration. Because trust me, this is a turning point. This is Smith saying, enough is enough, I'm taking you down, and I have the evidence to do it. Now, the bombshell dropped on October 26, 2025. Jack Smith's office released evidence showing Trump's campaign coordinated with Department of Justice insiders, not just informal contacts, not just casual conversations, coordination, planning, scheming about how to manipulate investigations to benefit Trump, how to sidestep oversight mechanisms designed to keep investigations independent, how to possibly obstruct probes into Trump's election interference. And this isn't speculation. Smith has documents, he has communications, he has proof, evidence that's being described as the biggest political bombshell of the year. Evidence that directly links Trump's campaign to DOJ corruption. Evidence that shows Trump wasn't just a president trying to govern. He was a president trying to corrupt the Justice Department to protect himself. And that's a massive abuse of power. That's potentially criminal. That's exactly the kind of conduct that should result in impeachment and prosecution. Now, Jack Smith has also signaled that he's ready to publicly testify before Congress, and that's huge, because for months, Smith has been working quietly, conducting his investigation, building his cases, not commenting publicly, but Trump has been attacking him relentlessly, threatening to prosecute Smith, threatening to go after his team, trying to intimidate Smith into backing down, and Smith has had enough. He's going on the offensive. He's saying, "You want to attack me? Fine. I'll testify before Congress. I'll lay out all the evidence publicly. I'll tell the American people exactly what you did. Every crime, every abuse of power, every attempt to corrupt the Justice Department, all of it, on the record, under oath, for everyone to see." And that terrifies Trump, because Smith has evidence, lots of it, evidence that's been blocked by judicial and legislative maneuvers, evidence that hasn't been made public yet. But if Smith testifies, if he presents it to Congress, it all comes out, and there's nothing Trump can do to stop it. According to Smith's allies, he's preparing to detail what he's calling Trump's unprecedented criminal effort to overturn the legitimate results of the election. Not just political hardball, not just aggressive lawyering, criminal conduct, illegal schemes to stay in power despite losing, and Smith has the evidence to prove it. Now, newly released documents confirm that Smith's office examined communications between Trump and 160 Republican officials during the election subversion inquiry. 160 officials. That's not just Trump acting alone, that's a massive conspiracy. A coordinated effort involving dozens and dozens of Republican lawmakers and officials, all working together to overturn an election, all participating in what Smith is calling a criminal enterprise. And Smith has their communications. He knows what they said, he knows what they planned, he knows who was involved, and he's preparing to expose all of it. And that's creating panic, not just for Trump, but for every Republican official who was involved, every lawmaker who participated, every aide who facilitated. They're all looking at the possibility of being implicated in criminal conduct, of facing prosecution, of having their careers destroyed. And Trump's response has been predictable. Threats. He's threatened to prosecute Smith. He's attacked Smith publicly. He's tried to paint Smith as a political operative rather than an independent prosecutor, but it's backfiring because Smith isn't backing down, and Trump's attacks are just making Smith look more credible. They're making it look like Trump is desperate to silence someone who has damaging evidence, which of course he is. So yeah, this is the story. Jack Smith pulling a nuke move that's crumbling Trump's administration, releasing explosive evidence linking Trump's campaign to DOJ corruption, preparing to testify before Congress, exposing Trump's election subversion scheme involving 160 Republican officials, and Trump panicking because his crimes are about to be fully exposed. Let's break it down. Alright, so let's dig into what Jack Smith actually has and why it's so devastating for Trump. Because this isn't just political theater, this is evidence of serious crimes, evidence that could result in prosecutions, impeachment, and prison time for multiple people. Let's start with the evidence of DOJ corruption. According to Smith's October 26 revelations, Trump's campaign coordinated with insiders at the Department of Justice, people working at DOJ who were supposed to be conducting independent investigations, who were supposed to be insulated from political pressure, but instead they were working with Trump's campaign, sharing information, taking direction, helping Trump manipulate investigations to his benefit. What does that coordination look like? Sharing non-public information about investigations with Trump's team, giving Trump advance warning about investigative steps, allowing Trump to prepare defenses and cover up evidence. That's obstruction of justice. Manipulating the course of investigations to benefit Trump, slow-walking certain inquiries, accelerating others, making prosecutorial decisions based on political considerations rather than legal merit. That's corruption. Sidestepping oversight mechanisms, avoiding the normal processes that ensure DOJ independence, working through back-channel communications to hide the coordination. That's conspiracy. And Smith has evidence of all of this. Documents showing communications between Trump's campaign and DOJ insiders, records of meetings and phone calls, emails and text messages, all of it proving coordination, all of it showing that Trump corrupted the Justice Department. And that's one of the most serious things a president can do, because the Justice Department is supposed to be independent. It's supposed to enforce the law fairly, without political interference. When a president corrupts DOJ, when they turn it into a political tool, that undermines the entire legal system. It means laws only apply to the president's enemies, that the president and their allies are above the law, and that's not how democracy works. Now let's talk about Trump's election subversion scheme, because Smith has evidence of Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election, and it's not just Trump acting alone. Smith has examined communications between Trump and 160 Republican officials, lawmakers, state officials, party leaders, all coordinating with Trump to overturn election results. What were they discussing? The fake elector scheme, creating fraudulent slates of electors in states Trump lost, having those fake electors cast votes for Trump even though Biden won, then trying to get Congress or Mike Pence to accept the fake electoral votes. That's fraud. That's conspiracy. Pressuring state officials to change election results. Trump's infamous call to Brad Raffensperger in Georgia, asking him to find votes. Similar pressure on officials in other states, trying to get them to declare fraud where none existed, to throw out legitimate votes, to overturn the will of voters. That's election interference. That's corruption. Planning and inciting the January 6th attack. Communications about rallying supporters, about directing them to the Capitol, about using mob pressure to stop certification of the election. That's conspiracy. That's potentially sedition. And Smith has evidence of all of it. He's examined communications between Trump and these 160 officials. He knows what was said, what was planned, who participated, and he's preparing to present all of it publicly, to lay it out for Congress and the American people to show the full scope of Trump's criminal enterprise. Now, why is Smith going on the offensive now? Why is he releasing evidence and preparing to testify? Because Trump has been attacking him relentlessly. Trump has threatened to prosecute Smith when Trump leaves office. He's accused Smith of being a political hack. He's tried to get courts to shut down Smith's investigations. He's used every tool available to try to make Smith go away. And Smith has decided that the best defense is a good offense, that instead of just quietly conducting his investigation while Trump attacks, he needs to fight back. He needs to show the public what he's found. He needs to make clear that Trump's attacks are desperate attempts to cover up crimes. So Smith is releasing evidence. He's preparing to testify. He's going public with his findings. And that's a powerful move because it puts pressure on Congress to act. It makes it politically difficult for Republicans to continue protecting Trump. It shows the American people exactly what Trump did, and it makes Smith harder to attack. Because once the evidence is public, once Smith has testified, Trump can't just dismiss Smith as a rogue prosecutor. Trump has to actually address the evidence, and that's something Trump can't do because the evidence proves Trump's guilt. Now let's talk about Trump's response. Because Trump is panicking, his threats against Smith have escalated. He's talking about prosecuting Smith for malicious prosecution, for exceeding his authority, for being politically motivated. But those threats are backfiring because they make Trump look desperate. They make it look like Trump is trying to intimidate a prosecutor who has damaging evidence. And that reinforces Smith's credibility. It makes people think, if Trump is so innocent, why is he so desperate to silence Jack Smith? Why threaten prosecution instead of just refuting the evidence? The answer is obvious. Trump can't refute the evidence because it's real. It proves his crimes. So all Trump can do is attack the messenger, try to discredit Smith, try to intimidate him into backing down. But it's not working. Smith is pushing forward, and Trump's attacks are just making the situation worse. Trump's inner circle is also panicking because they know that if Smith testifies, if he presents all his evidence publicly, many of them are going to be implicated. They participated in Trump's schemes. They facilitated his crimes. They're part of the conspiracy Smith is investigating, and they could face prosecution. They're part of the conspiracy Smith is investigating, and they could face prosecution. So Trump's advisors and allies are scrambling. Some are considering whether to cooperate with Smith, whether to flip and provide evidence against Trump to save themselves. Others are lawyering up, preparing for potential indictments. And all of them are realizing that Trump's approach, attacking Smith and trying to shut down the investigation, isn't working. It's just making things worse. Now, let's talk about congressional response. Because Smith's revelations and his willingness to testify are creating pressure on Congress. Democrats are calling for immediate investigations. They want Smith to testify. They want to see all the evidence. They want to hold hearings and expose Trump's corruption publicly. And they're talking about criminal referrals, about using Smith's evidence to refer cases for prosecution, about holding Trump and his co-conspirators accountable. Some Republicans are uncomfortable too, because Smith's evidence implicates 160 Republican officials. That means some current members of Congress were involved in Trump's election subversion scheme. And those Republicans are facing a choice: defend Trump and risk being exposed as participants in criminal conduct, or distance themselves from Trump and try to save their own careers. And the political calculation is shifting, because as Smith's evidence becomes public, as the scope of Trump's crimes becomes clear, defending Trump becomes politically untenable. Even for Republicans who've been loyal to Trump, there's a point where the evidence is so overwhelming that continuing to defend him is political suicide. Now, Smith's investigation isn't just about the election subversion. It's also connected to the classified documents case, to Trump's obstruction of justice, to multiple criminal schemes across different areas. And Smith is building a comprehensive case, showing a pattern of Trump abusing power, obstructing justice, and engaging in criminal conduct throughout his presidency and beyond. And that comprehensive case is devastating, because it's not just one crime, it's a pattern. a consistent effort by Trump to place himself above the law, to corrupt institutions, to engage in criminal conduct, and that pattern makes prosecution more likely and conviction more certain. So yeah, this is where we are. Jack Smith has gone nuclear. He's released evidence of Trump's corruption. He's preparing to testify before Congress. He's exposing Trump's election subversion scheme involving 160 Republican officials. And Trump is panicking because his crimes are about to be fully exposed. Let's talk about what this means going forward. Okay, so let's break down what Jack Smith's nuclear move means for Trump, for the investigation, and for American politics. Because this is a turning point. This is Smith saying, I'm not backing down, I'm taking you on, and I'm going to win. First, let's talk about what this means for Trump's legal jeopardy. Because Smith has evidence of serious crimes, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to overturn an election, corruption of the Justice Department, election interference, all proven by documents and communications. And Smith is preparing to present all of it publicly. That means Trump faces multiple potential charges, each with serious prison time. And the evidence is strong. Trump's own communications, documents proving coordination, testimony from cooperating witnesses. That's the kind of evidence that results in convictions. So Trump is looking at the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison, not as speculation, as a real, likely outcome based on the evidence Smith has. Second, let's talk about what this means for Trump's remaining time in office. Because even if prosecution doesn't happen immediately, even if Trump serves out his term, he's now a lame duck. His administration is in crisis. His allies are panicking. His corruption is being exposed. He can't effectively govern when he's fighting multiple investigations, when evidence of his crimes is becoming public, when members of his own party are distancing themselves. So Trump's presidency is effectively over. He might hold the office, but he's not accomplishing anything. He's just fighting for survival. Third, let's talk about political fallout. Because Smith's revelations are devastating politically. Evidence that Trump corrupted the Justice Department, that he tried to overturn an election, that he coordinated with 160 Republican officials in a criminal conspiracy. That's not something Republicans can easily defend. Some will try. They'll attack Smith. They'll claim it's all political. But the evidence is objective. Trump's own words, his own communications, documents proving coordination. That's hard to dismiss as partisan politics. So Republicans are going to face pressure from voters who are tired of Trump's corruption, from donors who don't want to be associated with criminal conduct, from their own consciences if they have any integrity. And some Republicans are going to break. They're going to distance themselves from Trump. They're going to call for accountability. And Trump's support in his own party is going to erode. Fourth, let's talk about the 160 Republican officials Smith investigated, because many of them are still in office, still serving in Congress, still holding positions of power. And Smith has evidence that they participated in Trump's election subversion scheme, that they were part of the criminal conspiracy. So those officials are now facing potential prosecution, potential loss of their offices, potential prison time, and they're making calculations. Do they continue defending Trump and risk going down with him, or do they flip? Do they cooperate with investigators? Do they provide evidence against Trump to save themselves? Some are going to flip, because self-preservation is a powerful motivator. And when they do, when they start cooperating, they're going to provide even more evidence against Trump, more details about the conspiracy, more documentation of crimes, and that's going to make Smith's case even stronger. Fifth, let's talk about Jack Smith himself, because his decision to go on the offensive is significant. For months, Smith has been working quietly, not commenting publicly, just conducting his investigation. But Trump's attacks have forced him to change strategy, to fight back publicly, to release evidence, to prepare to testify. And that's a powerful move because it shows Smith isn't intimidated, isn't backing down, is committed to seeing this investigation through no matter what Trump does. And that's reassuring. It shows that even in the face of threats from a president, even when facing potential prosecution and personal attacks, a prosecutor can stand firm, can do their job, can pursue justice without fear. That's how the system is supposed to work. And Smith is demonstrating that it can work, even against a president who abuses power and tries to corrupt institutions. Sixth, let's talk about what justice looks like here. Because if Trump is prosecuted and convicted based on Smith's evidence, that's justice working. That's accountability for someone who committed serious crimes. Trump tried to overturn an election. He corrupted the Justice Department. He obstructed investigations. He engaged in criminal conspiracies. And Jack Smith has evidence proving all of it. So Trump should face prosecution. He should face trial. And if the evidence supports it, he should be convicted and sentenced to prison. That's not political persecution. That's the rule of law applying to everyone, including presidents. And that's essential for democracy. Because if presidents can commit crimes without consequences, if they can corrupt institutions and face no accountability, then we don't really have rule of law anymore. We have rule by whoever holds power. So Smith's investigation matters, not just for Trump, but for the principle that nobody is above the law, that even presidents must be held accountable for crimes, that justice applies to everyone. So what's the bottom line? Jack Smith has pulled a nuclear move. He's released explosive evidence linking Trump's campaign to DOJ corruption. He's preparing to testify before Congress and expose Trump's crimes publicly. He's investigated communications between Trump and 160 Republican officials in an election subversion conspiracy, and Trump is panicking. His administration is crumbling. His allies are considering whether to flip. His legal jeopardy is mounting. The evidence Smith has is overwhelming. Trump's own communications, documents proving coordination and conspiracy, proof of obstruction, corruption, and election interference. And Smith is ready to present it all publicly, to testify before Congress, to lay out the full scope of Trump's criminal conduct. Trump tried to intimidate Smith, tried to shut down the investigation, tried to threaten prosecution and personal attacks, but it backfired. Smith went on the offensive instead, and now Trump's crimes are about to be fully exposed. Stay tuned, because Smith's testimony is coming. The evidence is going to be presented publicly. Criminal referrals are going to be made, and Trump is going to face accountability. Finally, after years of avoiding consequences, after years of corruption and abuse of power, justice is coming, and Jack Smith is making sure of it.